I have to say that I don't think that this little duck is looking as good as his older brother. And I do believe that one of the reasons, not the only one probably, but I guess I can't get them both on here at once, that one of the reasons is that I worked on the back side of the paper here. I'm pretty sure this is new paper, but it's definitely got an absorbency to it that I thought Arches was doing better with their paper than this. So I'm a little displeased about that. It's still the best paper around as far as I'm concerned. But you might want to work primarily on the fronts, at least with portraits and things that are delicate, and save the backs for the more fun, playful stuff. There, that's my advice. Okay, so let's do a little finish up here, and this was just not as cute somehow. Now, I am going to put some highlights in here with the white ink. I'm also going to put putting a little bit of background in here too. So I've got my white ink here, and my white ink is shiny on top. It's got some. It's fairly fluid, at least on top. Remember, this stuff kind of cures up on its own. It just has a mind of its own. That's all I can say about that. So you want to keep it pretty well hydrated. Let's see, I am making a little shape right here. Kind of comes over the top of the nostril a little bit, and it's coming down here. It's just a highlight. And then I want to soften the edge. So I've got it on there fairly thick because I really want it to be like white. And then we've got to soften the edge just like we would with any other watercolor. Okay, now this is the trickier part in my opinion. It's these two little areas here on the end. And I think it's going to be fussy with me because of the paper. I'm really kind of upset about this paper. I've not run into this recently, but I saw someone else's work that had some problem with it, and she wasn't sure if she had an old piece or a new piece, and I didn't know either. I thought maybe she had an old piece, but I'm pretty sure this is the newer paper. So you can put a highlight on there, but you really kind of need some softened edges. That's one of the reasons I lifted this area too, because it needs to be more subtle. This spot here doesn't have to be subtle so much, but this, that does. You could even put a little highlight on his tongue if you wanted to. I don't know that I want to. Let's see. Where else were we going here? Oh, normally I would go back in and I would keep working some areas on this a little darker. I'm not sure, though, that I can make them work right on here. I'm really disappointed. Make sure when you do this little duck that you're using the front of your paper. I mean, the side that's got the front label on it. have gone back to their old ways or something. I'm just... There for the longest, I've been able to work on either side pretty confidently. And it's possible that I've got an older piece of paper here, but it feels like the new stuff. The new stuff had a little bit harder surface. See, you could come in, I think I don't have enough fluffiness to his head either, for instance. And right here, I think we need a little more darkness. So this is just kind of, this is almost like working on a portrait. In that I'm coming in and I'm building up a lot of layers and paying attention to shape. We'll see what that does. Right here on the eye, I think it could get just a little bit more shape in here. If you have a little bit of light underneath, which we have a little bit, but you can get this beautiful glow that makes an eye look more alive. I'm just barely adding water. I pulled up just the tiniest bit because it was almost right. The other thing is that sometimes the highlight can be too bright or too big. I think it's a little too big, and I think it's a little too bright. I'm going to trim it up. Ooh, just yay much. Well, now it may not be too bright because it's smaller. Inside the nostril, I don't have enough depth. And you notice between that highlight and the nostril, there's a little bridge area there that is just the bill color. Okay. Could get the mouth a little bit darker on the inside here. Again, using that same mixture of the, whoops, I made a dent in this bill. Using that same gray mixture into the Quinn Burnt Scarlet. It just makes a little bit more depth. Okay. Could build a little bit more depth into the feet. Like I said, I'm being kind of cautious because of this. This paper is really, I'm really unhappy with it today. I'm going to blame the paper. This definitely is the paper is grabbing this up. And maybe the other thing that can happen, and I'm not going to say that this didn't happen to this, is you can have your paper sitting against cardboard or something, you know, that is acidic. It's best stored in plastic. That could have happened with this. And if it has been touching cardboard for a while, I don't mean 20 minutes, I mean, I don't know, days or weeks, you may get enough acid eating into the higher parts of the paper. That's another thing that this could be. Okay, so I want to deepen the shadow, and then we'll show you adding a little bit of background and why I wanted to show some background. I'll explain that in a minute. So let's get this gray cracking here. Okay, and a little bit of our yellow. Ooh, okay. Because, whoa, it's too dark. See, here's the other thing. It grabbed and absorbed something I put down a while ago way faster than it should have. And that was also kind of a sign that something was not right with the paper. Yeah, it could very well be that I have simply had it. I don't generally leave mine against cardboard or something, but was a scrap that I had been sort of carting around here and there. And so there's not a lot of telling just where all it's been. And then sometimes also people give me paper, to pay me back for borrowing some. And sometimes you don't know where that's been. Because I'm pretty sure this is the newer paper. So don't leave your paper in contact with cardboard. Save that plastic that it comes in and always store it in that. Just think that needs to be a little darker in here. There, that's better. Now, right here. Because he's got to be sitting on the ground, and his feet were standing out too much. Okay, now let's just put in a little bit of background. The reason I want to do this is I want to point out that you want to keep him looking fluffy. Okay, I went and got fresh water because what I want to have happen here is I'm going to put in a little bit of background back here, and where it comes up to the duck, I want him to have a soft edge because he's got to look fluffy. So basically, I've used a very limited palette. And what I don't want to do is go and pick up, maybe I've got some sap green in my palette. So maybe I'll go pick up some sap green and make a background. Well, no, I don't really want to do that. And you could mute it and make it work. But the thing I'm thinking about is I want something that's going to be compatible with what I have. So I've used my new gamboge into my ultramarine. Maybe that will work. So first thing, I've got clean water here. And I'm going to wet this area. And I'm just going to make a little line back here, like it's off in the distance. Well, a little bit distant, okay? Because he's obviously standing on pavement here. Okay, so it's the same deal as what we were doing before. We want to be careful with how fast the paint is spreading. And if I want this to look like this grass is back in the distance a bit, I might just put it wet into wet everywhere so that it stays soft. But the major thing is, I want it to be soft where it comes up here to the duck. Give him a little bit of a soft edge. Like that. I got this in the right place, yeah. So that, and the thing is, I've got a little bit of a crisp edge built in there. Part of that's, I hate to keep blaming the paper, but I'm not happy. Okay. So, yeah, I mentioned this early on when I was talking about texture here on the chest. But I didn't realize that I was in trouble there. Okay. So, for instance there, it's just kind of a nice soft little hint of a background. Could get that in a little closer, I think. But I mean, you could do this with a kitten or with anything, and you could have it fuzzy around and even have sort of a highlight around there if you had a white area. Or let's say that you were painting a white animal. You might very well have the background make the outside part of the hairs. So, okay. Maybe I'll add a little blue in here. Oh, that doesn't look good. Maybe I won't add a little blue in there. You know, I could have made that a blue water puddle back there. Well, now, whatever I did over here, I got to do over here. All right. I'm going to call that the end of the duck. Yeah. Except maybe that eyelid shouldn't be quite so light. That does bother me. I left it kind of light. It should still be like the rest of the duck. It should just have a little bit of indentation or something. Yeah. So, I think the duck that you have that I'm providing for the class is a little better example to work from than this, but this should give you the techniques. And that's all of part 4.